I have someone who needs me, someone I've needed so long. For once unafraid, I can go where life leads. Hello YouTube, this is Lala Be So Random coming with my first cooking video for Lala's cooking show. And this is like a test and trial one because this is my first time making this dish, and I made oxtails. And I've said that when I was cooking it also, that it is my first time making this. When I make stuff for the first time, I look up recipes, and I usually get my recipes from allrecipes.com. That's where this recipe came from. It was South African oxtail stew. And then what I do is I change and adjust the recipes. I just look at what typical ingredients go in the dish, and then I put what I think would taste good in there. And if I don't have a certain ingredient, I just find something to replace it that will replace it really good. So you'll see this throughout this cooking video. And I hope you enjoy this cooking video. And if you want more cooking videos, comment with some recipes or some dishes that you would like me to make, and I'll make some cooking videos for you when I can get around to it. So just comment down below with some dishes you would like to see me make. I can make all kinds of food, international, soul food, international, just all kinds of food, because I went to culinary school, but I also was I could already cook good before that. Just something I was blessed with, I guess. So just whatever you want me to try to cook, but I'm not going to do any pig's feet or nothing like that. Chitlins, no. You can do that, because I don't do that. Not me. But if it's not something disgusting and I think it might sound good, put that down below and I'll try to do a cooking video for you of that recipe. So you'll see how I like the oxtail stew. Me and my son will try it when it's done. It's simmering right now. It's cooking. But I had to do the start of this video. So this is the beginning, the opener. So hope you enjoy. Stay tuned. And right now I'm cleaning the oxtail. What you have to do is get all the fat off, which it looks like it's pretty much pre-cleaned because I got it from the African store. And the oxtail recipe that I'm doing today is South African oxtail stew. And it's very hard to get this off, so you got to use a very sharp knife. I'm using a boning knife. But if you have a really sharp knife, the kids should not try to do this unless they're really good with knives and you're watching them. And teenagers either, unless you're watching them. Some adults, because I gotta watch myself, so just be very careful cutting this fat off of the oxtail. Be very careful trimming it. And don't cut it in the direction I am, because I just cut any kind of way just to get it done. So that piece is off. I'm put it on this paper towel right here. See if there's any more with a lot of fat on them. They don't. Some distilled white vinegar, some salt, iodized salt, and some lime juice. You can use a fresh lime or use this lime juice. I have this lime juice because I don't have any fresh limes, so I'm just going to use some of these. First, you pour some vinegar over the beef, over the oxtail. So pour your vinegar over it. Got your vinegar. Then you add your lime juice. Only a little bit left in this one, so I'm going to use this one. And add your lime juice. Get that all real good over the beef, real good. The lime juice, maybe about half of one of these little, maybe a half of it. About what I use, a third or a half. It's just for cleaning, so you can measure it on your own. It's my first time making oxtail. I just took some recipes and kind of took parts of each, and I'm going to add a little bit of my own stuff, but I'm mainly using a South African oxtail stew recipe. And then I pour the salt over it. Pour the salt over the beef. Pour a lot of salt and get this good and clean. And then you mix it up. Mix it up in all of that. Okay, I added a little bit more vinegar because you want this little cleaning solution to cover the meat. So I had to make sure it covered it. So I did add some to make sure it covered. And it's mine set for an hour because I had other things to do, but 20 minutes should be fine. But you see all that floating? See all this stuff floating in the, that's what you get. It's what came off of it, cleaning it up. Now you rinse it in the sink about 3 or 4 times. And I also rinsed this meat 3 times before I cleaned it. You chop the celery. The recipe calls for 1 cup of chopped celery if you have 3 pounds of oxtails, which I only have like 1.5 pounds of oxtail. So I'm still gonna put, I mean, it's flavor is flavor, so I'll still probably use like 1 cup. And it calls for 1 large onion. I already washed and skinned the onion. Still have 1 layer of skin, but I think I'm going to go on and use the whole onion, even though I don't have 3 pounds of meat. I have like half the recipe, but it never hurts to have much flavor with celery and onion. So I'm still going to use the whole onion and chop it in half. And then the easy way for me, see this, you see the celery's done, and this is the same knife I used on the meat to trim the meat, but I did wash it. So make sure you wash your knife before you cut your vegetables. You don't want any germs transferred, bacteria. Okay, and now you're going to take, the recipe calls for you to add the celery, which is already in the water. The water, which is, it says 10 cups of water. I just got a Dutch oven and basically filled it almost to the top. It's just a little bit, maybe quarter of it that's not filled, so it's almost to the top. 10 cups of water, or just eyeball it to about there. And I already put the celery in there. And it calls for minced garlic. I don't have any garlic, so I have garlic powder. It says 1 teaspoon of minced garlic, so I'm going to put about 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. 2 or 3. Doesn't really matter. Never have too much garlic. And then you put the bouillon cube, beef bouillon. It says 2 beef bouillon cubes. I'm going to switch that part up, and I'm using one beef bouillon cube and 1 Maggi cube, because I like using Maggi. Plus it's a South African dish. Why not use Maggi? They're about the same thing anyway. So basically the same thing. And you put your 6 ounces of tomato paste, 6-ounce can of tomato paste. That goes in here also. And it says stir this until the tomato paste has dissolved. I use a butter knife because it's easier to scrape this tomato paste out with a knife than having a spoon. Make sure you can get as much of it as possible. Alright, now I'm going to stir it until this tomato paste dissolves in this liquid. And the recipe calls for you to add bay leaves, 2 bay leaves. Those are kind of broken up, but that's about 2 bay leaves. And black peppercorns. I don't have black peppercorns. It calls for 6 black peppercorns. So I'm just going to use black pepper. And eyeball it. Maybe about 3 teaspoons or 2.5 teaspoons of black pepper. Calls for 1/4 cup of canola oil. So this is a recipe change for me also because I have peanut oil. So I'm going to put 1/4 cup of peanut oil. and put that on medium heat. That's about a 1/4 cup, maybe a little bit more. Okay, that's enough. It says cook it on medium-high heat, and then add the oxtail to the oil. It's already brown from the lime juice. The acid in the lime juice kind of starts cooking stuff. I don't know how lime juice does that, but yeah, the acid does this. Because you saw how red it was before I cleaned it. I'm going to put all those in there, in the pan, so they're all in the pan. And I got to cook them until they're brown. So it's sizzling a little bit. Hope you can hear it. And it says cook this for about 10 minutes, the oxtail in the oil. Move it around, make sure it gets brown on all sides. I may be able to cook it less than 10 minutes since I just have half of what the recipe calls for. Since, as I told you, it called for 3 pounds of oxtail in the recipe. I only have 1.5 pounds. So, should be able to cook it a little less time. So I'll be back when the 10 minutes is up and it's brown. So I decided to add carrots to this recipe. It doesn't call for it, but carrots never hurt a stew. Stews usually include carrots, so I was shocked that this one really didn't, but I want carrots in mine. I don't like raw carrots, but I love them cooked in a stew, but not by themselves. I'm still using the same knife that I cut the onions and celery with. And I rinsed the carrots off before I skinned them. And I'm going to cut this carrot like this. Well, I'm just going to cut the ends. Just chop them, chop, chop, chop. Move the hands back. Always be sure to move them hands back. I've kept my fingers this long, I want to keep them. And I think you want to keep your fingers too. Alright. Summer, summer, summertime. Summertime. Time to sit back and unwind. Yeah, this is what I do. You heard my son say, ooh. I do that to annoy him. No, I just like singing stupid songs when I cook. But that was the jam when I was younger. Summertime. Will Smith. Check it out on YouTube, Vivo, wherever. Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, Summertime. So I did do it for the 10 minutes. And you can see the oxtails are nice and brown. They're nice and brown. So it says once you have them brown, to add the oxtails to the pot over here with the stock. And I added those carrots in that pot too with the stock. So I'm just going to add the oxtails in here. Oops. Kind of messy. Try not to be. But oh well, a little soup won't hurt you. Matter of fact, this is an easier way to do it. Use this one. Make it simple. Use the same spoon you stir with. So you don't have to worry about the splatter. For once in my life, found someone who needs me. I'm not alone anymore. He wants to push stop on this record, I'm sure. It's not going to happen. I'm going to sing my silly songs all I want. But once in my life, found someone who needs me. Y'all can pay me if y'all want to. I think I need a contract. American Idol, holla at me. Alright, it says pour some of this oil, so I'm going to pour. It says only leave like a teaspoon of oil in here. So, pulling a lot of this oil out. It said like a tablespoon of oil, I think. So I poured most of the oil out, and then it says put the onions in there. So now you got to cook these onions. The onions. And it says to cook the onions for about 5 minutes or 2 translucent, which just until they're clear, so you can see through them. Now the onions are translucent. You know, they're kind of through, they're turning brown, they're browning. So now it's time to add those to the oxtail. Add those to the oxtail. And it says to lower the heat on the oxtail to medium-low. So I lowered the heat, and I'm going to move it over. I'm going to cut this heat off and move it over to where I had the skillet, because that's the bigger burner. So move it on over. Move it on over like George and Weezy. Moving on up like George and Weezy. So you just stir this up, and I need to cover this. So I'm going to get the lid and cover it for 2.5 hours. It has to cook. So being that I only had 1.5 pounds of oxtail and the recipe was for 3 pounds of oxtail, I checked the oxtail and it's already tender. You can see by see how tender. Ow, it's so hot. It's so hot. If I could show you, see, it's already tender, basically. And they said don't let it come off the bone. So it was, some of it's almost coming off the bone already. So the recipe calls for you to take the oxtail out of the stew, because you're going to thicken this broth. You're making like a gravy with this broth. You could put a little bit of cornstarch. See, so some of it's coming off the bone. The recipe calls for beans, kidney beans. So if you want to go by the recipe, you put a can of kidney beans in here, drain it, and put the beans in there. Drain them out. You don't want the liquid from the beans in there, but you drain the beans and put them in there. But I wanted rice, so I have jasmine rice, and I've rinsed it. Like maybe I've filled the water to here or higher about 10 or 11 times and drained it out so it can get clean, so you can see the rice is not cloudy like it was. So I'm going to pour this water out in the sink and then pour the rice in this stew over here. Strain the rice out in the sink, and this is 2.5 cups of rice, of jasmine rice. If you want to do my recipe, 2.5 cups. Huh? My recipe's always better. How you know if you didn't try the other version? If you didn't try the original recipe, you can't say it's better. It might be good, just like mine. So the recipe calls for it to simmer 30 more minutes, but the oxtail is supposed to be out of it. So this has to simmer 30 more minutes. Let this rice cook. And I may have to add cornstarch after the rice cooks, but if the rice thickens it, then I don't have to add the cornstarch. But the recipe calls for, if you use the kidney beans, then you need to add cornstarch. It was 1 teaspoon or 1 tablespoon. Just look up the recipe to thicken this. It's supposed to be thickened like gravy. So since rice usually thickens things, I'm gonna let the rice cook. And when the rice is done cooking, I'll see how thick it is. Stir the rice up a little bit. The rice has been in there for about 10 minutes. It's almost done. So now I'm gonna get these bay leaves out. You do need the bay leaves. The bay leaves are just for flavor. I found it, the culprit. So that's all the bay leaves out of there. Okay, I used some of this stuff. Yeah, it was just 99 cents. It's something to use for pasta, like some kind of Italian. It's basically like a flour. So it looks like it looks like flour. And I took maybe 3 tablespoons and put it in this cup, and I mixed it up with warm water. Warm water. And I'm gonna put a little bit in here just to thicken this sauce up a little bit. Just a little bit. Pour a little bit to see how thick it gets. The rice is basically done. I'm trying not to overcook it, but I want this to get thick. I'm gonna go on and cut it off because it's done. See, it's thickening up already. Put a little bit more. So it seems like I had to use maybe 1/3 cup of this roux and just water and that flour stuff. About 1/3 cup. See, that's looking nice. Nice and thick. Put a little tiny more, like a teaspoon more. So maybe try 1/4 cup of the roux. Or whenever it looks thick to you, you just stir it and make sure when it starts looking thick to you, to your taste. And there's another little piece of bay leaf in there. I just see shouldn't be any more. I always get those, but you don't want to eat those. Those are not tasty. They make your soups and stews taste good, but you don't want to eat all hard, crunchy bay leaf. Okay, that's thick. That's good. Okay, so it says on the recipe, put your oxtail in here first. So you got your oxtail. Put that in there, and it stays on the bone like that. However many pieces you want in there. It's just 2 of us, so I can put what I want. I think that'll be enough. I might put let me see, try another piece or 2. 1 piece. And then you put this on top of it. On top of your oxtail. Your stew. And then I'm going to take some green onions. I have 3 stalks, and you can put however many, but I'm not going to chop all 3 for this bowl. Just cut them like that. I usually get those ends off. Just use them for garnish. Cut them really thin. And you use them for garnish just to make your dish look kind of cute. Sprinkle them around. Sprinkle them about. And this is my South African oxtail stew, but my recipe, because I changed it up. So it's more like rice and oxtails, but I think it's going to be very good, very tasty. We're going to try this and let you see if we like it. Here's the oxtail stew and rice. I made it a little thick because I really just wanted the oxtails with the rice, but if you don't want it as thick, put a little less roux in there. Maybe about two teaspoons of roux will thicken it for you if you want it to be soupy. I didn't really want mine as much soupy, I just wanted the stew flavor. And sweet bread, got me a big cut of sweet bread. My son has his little bowl here. and his sweet bread. We're going to try this for you. His first time trying this stew.
It's good.
What does it taste like? Just stew?
Yes, it's good.
So you like it? Did you eat a piece of oxtail?
No.
They tried oxtail. That's the whole thing of it. You've had stew before.
It's good.
Okay, I'm trying this oxtail stew. Trying oxtail for the first time. My son said it's kind of fatty on the inside, but he said it's good. Let me see what oxtail tastes like. The stew's good, I know that. Now let me taste what oxtail tastes like. It's not bad. I need a piece with more meat. Let me find a meaty piece. There's one. Just tastes like beef stew. What's the difference? Beef stew. Alright. Thanks for watching. Thumbs up, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment down below for the other recipes for me to try out. Just tastes like beef and rice. It's okay. It's alright. I'm gonna try something else next time. So we tried the oxtail, so you've seen it, you saw the finished product. We tried the oxtail for the first time. After trying it, I say to don't follow the recipe where it says don't cook it till it falls off the bone. Cook it till it falls off the bone. I followed that part and it was not as tender as it should have been, but the recipe said let it be tender but don't let it fall off the bones. I say if you try this recipe, let the meat fall off the bones or be almost close to it. So I cooked it for like 1 hour and 40 minutes for 1.5 pounds of oxtail. I probably should have cooked it maybe 2 hours, at least 2 hours and 15 minutes. The recipe said 2.5 hours and then 30 more minutes. Not the meat, but the soup. So I probably should have cooked it for at least 2 hours. Even though it was half of the meat that the recipe had, because I don't like the tenderness. I mean, it was tender, but it wasn't tender enough because it's a very fatty. I think I had a very bad cuts, and then from looking at it after I cleaned it, it looked like it was very bad cuts of oxtail. So next time I'll find a different place to get the oxtail, maybe the local grocery store, and see, and I maybe can get some better cuts of oxtail with more meat on them. The little round ones, because those were the best ones. The round ones, the flat ones with the most meat. So that's the kind that you want. If you get some oxtail, make sure your bag or your pack has a lot of the round flat ones, not the round tall ones, not the ones with the other kind of bones on them. The round flat ones. Those are the nice ones to cook and get real tender and don't have as much fat in between the meat. Because I trimmed the fat around it, but there's a lot of fat inside the meat on oxtail, so that's why you have to cook it so long. I don't even know if the ones I had the fat would have dissolved if I cooked it a little longer for 2 hours. It was just really fatty. So overall, that recipe really just tastes like beef stew, or really beef and rice, beef stew with rice. So it was good, but it was just like beef stew and rice. I was expecting something spectacular. It's oxtail. I never tried it. I heard people talk about it. So next time I make it, I will try a Jamaican recipe with the red wine and all that stuff, and the spices, because I need more spice. I did go on and add some ONGA, ONGA, some ONGA little seasoning. I have a little seasoning pack that I got at the African store. That's where you get that, at the African store. I might have added maybe a half a teaspoon of that, or a teaspoon to the whole pot. Add a teaspoon of that to the whole pot and mix it around real good. That'll give it a lot more flavor too. Give it a different type of flavor, so it tasted better than that. So overall, at least I got a big pot of rice that I'm going to eat. Me and my son will be eating. Then the little oxtail meat's about gone because it wasn't much meat. So I'm looking forward to next time trying a different recipe, the Jamaican style oxtail with more spices and with the red wine, and we'll see how that turns out. But it was good. It wasn't nasty, but it wasn't spectacular like I thought oxtail would be. So if you have a better oxtail recipe, please put that down below and let me not gonna try that recipe. But as I said, I got this recipe from allrecipes.com, and it was South African oxtail. And I only changed it a little bit, and the ingredients that I changed it to were very similar to the regular ingredients, so it wouldn't have tasted much different. I picked that recipe because they had 4.5 stars, almost 5 stars. So some people like it, I guess because it tastes like beef stew, but if I want beef stew, I'll just make beef stew. So that's why I was kind of like, my son was kind of like, he liked it. He said it was good. He loved the rice and the flavor, but the meat, having all that fat in it, it just was not, I didn't like the fat. I bought a bad cut of meat. So now I know how to buy oxtail and how not to buy oxtail, because it's very expensive, so I'm not going to waste my money. It's $5.96 a pound at the African store, and probably at Kroger's I think they're $5.99 a pound. So next time I will get better cuts, better cuts, and not more bone than meat. So thanks for watching. Thumbs up, subscribe. I've already said that 20,000 times, but somebody subscribe, please. I need subscribers. I need views. People, watch me. I'm funny somewhat, I think. Bye bye. Be blessed.